Contentious Citizenship Amendment Bill has been introduced in the Rajya Sabha by Home Minister Amit Shah. The debate is currently underway and will go on for the next 4 hours at least. Remember, 6 hours have been allocated for this bill to be discussed. While introducing the bill, Home Minister Amit Shah said that the legislation provides hope for lakhs of people who are living with no permanent residency in India. He also said that the bill is not anti-Muslim, but India cannot be expected to give citizenship to Muslims who come from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. In a rebuttal, the Congress said that the bill is divisive and regressive in nature and is an attack on India's soul. The contentious legislation sailed through the Lok Sabha despite protests across the northeast. In the upper house, the BJP needs the support of at least 121 members of parliament for this bill to cross the Rajya Sabha hurdle.
एक बहुत बड़ी भ्रांति फैलाई जा रही है कि बिल माइनॉरिटी के खिलाफ, ये बिल विशेषकर मुस्लिम समुदाय के खिलाफ। मान्यवर, मैं पूछना चाहता हूं, जो इस देश के मुसलमान है, इसके लिए इस देश के अंदर कोई चर्चा का, कोई चिंता का सवाल ही नहीं है। वो नागरिक है, रहेंगे, उनको कोई प्रताड़ित नहीं। मेरा सभी विपक्ष के लोग, विपक्ष के माननीय सदस्य बैठे बैठे बोल रहे हैं, उनको चुनौती है कि जब आपको बोलने का मौका मिले, मुद्दा के साथ पॉइंट उपस्थित करिएगा। मैं हर एक चीज का जवाब देने के लिए बाध्य भी हूं, तैयार भी हूं और दूंगा, बशर्ते आप बैठिएगा, चले मत जाइएगा। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने अपने घोषणा पत्र के अंदर असंदिग्ध तरीके से इस बात की घोषणा करी थी। मैं इसलिए कहना चाहता हूं कि जो लोग कह रहे हैं कि आप वोट बैंक की राजनीति कर रहे हो, ये कर रहे हो, वो कर रहे हो, मैं सबको कहना चाहता हूं, मैं सब साथियों को कहना चाहता हूं कि हमने चुनाव के पहले ही ये इरादा देश की जनता के सामने रखा था, जिसको देश की जनता ने जन समर्थन दिया है और देश की जनता ने शासन करने का निर्णय। चाहे अफगानिस्तान हो, चाहे पाकिस्तान हो, चाहे समय समय पर बांग्लादेश हो, ये जो अल्पसंख्यक वहां रहते थे, उनके अधिकारों की सुरक्षा नहीं हुई। लगभग 20% अल्पसंख्यकों की आबादी में कटौती हुई है, कमी हुई है। या तो वो कहीं न कहीं रूप से मार दिए गए, धर्म परिवर्तन हो गया, या तो शरणार्थी बनकर अपने धर्म और सम्मान को बचाने के लिए वो भारत में आए। यहां पर उनको ये संरक्षण मिलना चाहिए था, मगर सालों तक नहीं मिला। ये बिल है सभी ऐसे प्रताड़ित लोगों को जो धर्म के आधार पर प्रताड़ना सहन कर भारत में आए हैं, ये सभी लोगों को नागरिकता देने का अधिकार लेकर ये बिल आया है।
हम इसका विरोध करते हैं। विरोध के कारण राजनीतिक नहीं। The bill that you have brought is an assault on the very foundational values of the Indian Constitution. क्या संविधान निर्माताओं का ये सम्मान करना है? अगर हम ये कथन करें आज 2019 में, 72 साल के बाद, कि उनको कोई समझ नहीं थी, उन्होंने इस पे गौर नहीं किया था, कुछ नहीं सोचा था। हिंदुस्तान के बंटवारे से उजड़े और उत्पीड़ित लाखों लोग जो पश्चिम और पूर्वी पाकिस्तान से आए थे, उनको क्या सम्मान नहीं मिला? 2 प्रधानमंत्री भी बने। एक डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी यहां बैठे, एक आई के गुजराल भी थे। राजनीति अगर आप कहते नहीं होनी चाहिए, तो ये राजनीति भी बंद होनी चाहिए। 2 नेशन थ्योरी जो बंटवारे की है, वो कांग्रेस ने नहीं लाई। मान्यवर, 1937 में अहमदाबाद में हिंदू महासभा ने प्रस्ताव पारित किया। असम जल रहा है, आपको बोलना पड़ा। वो उत्पीड़ित लोग नहीं है। अगर आप अच्छा कर रहे हैं तो उनके मन में इनसिक्योरिटी क्यों है, असुरक्षा की भावना क्यों है? क्यों बच्चे निकलकर बाहर आ गए?
Joining me now on the show, Arunima, our deputy editor, and Mara Shakil, our political editor, both of them live from outside Parliament. Arunima, coming to you first. First of all, how are the numbers placed in the Rajya Sabha? And secondly, what is the concern in the Home Ministry with regards to the situation in the Northeast?
Answer your second question first, and I'll bring in Maria to answer the political numbers. But as far as Home Ministry is concerned, that question is concerned, well, there were concerns about what this will have bearing on as far as northeastern part of the country is concerned, and that's why Home Minister Amit Shah carried out those series of meeting and offered those kind of concessions that we have seen. ILP for Manipur, 6th schedule protection for tribal areas, ILP protected areas of Nagaland and other northeastern states. So the kind of protest that we are now seeing is limited to Assam and Tripura. There is some protest going on in Manipur as well, but what the agencies feel is that because Manipur has been assured ILP status, that can be taken care of. So that leaves Tripura and Assam. Himanta Biswa Sarma, Sarbananda Sonowal have been tasked to politically reach out and ensure that there's no problem which happens. The security agencies, security approach-wise, they gain heart from the fact that a situation like Kashmir could be controlled. So even in Assam and Tripura, they will be eventually be able to convince people, and the protests will come down. Now to come back to the question about numbers. Maria, the suspense now over. Since yesterday we had been talking, will JDU, will Shiv Sena offer any glimmer of hope to the opposition? Now with RCP Singh speaking out, the suspense as far as JDU is concerned is over.
Yes, absolutely. And just like the Lok Sabha, this is almost like an overwhelming support without ifs and buts as far as the JDU is concerned on the floor of the Rajya Sabha as well. And Arunima, yesterday itself, Vashish Narayan Singh, who's a senior party leader and also a member of the Rajya Sabha, had been very categoric that as far as their stand in both the houses will remain the same. They supported the legislation in Lok Sabha. They're supporting the legislation again in the Rajya Sabha. But yes, as now coming to the question of whether the Shiv Sena will be doing a rethink, just because Rahul Gandhi has asked them to in many ways, and there is a line of communication that has opened between the Congress party, who's now in alliance, and in the government of Maharashtra. We have to wait and watch out for Shiv Sena's stand. But Sanjay Rawat giving an indication that they could very well make their reservations known, perhaps back the bill, and then perhaps stage a walkout.
Actually, I spoke to Sanjay Raut this morning, and what he said was, we will take a stance different from Lok Sabha. But 3 members of parliament, their voting will not in any way bring down the government's effort. There's not much
at stake. If anything, it will bring down the number of the house if they decide to stage a walkout.
And that will be advantage BJP.
Absolutely. Yes, again. And YSRCP is again a non-aligned party. A number of these parties, Arunima, 2-3 MPs they have. And all these non-aligned parties have been spoken to by the Treasury benches managers, the floor managers of the government, and they're fairly confident that when the bill will be put to vote after Amit Shah's reply, which will be roughly around 6 to 7 p.m., they would be able to sail through just as they managed in the Lok Sabha.
Right, and also Maha, just to point out, if you are going to fault Shiv Sena for not taking the same line as its newfound alliance partner of NCP and Congress, there are 2 NCP members also who are not present, Majid Memon and Vandana Chavan, not there in the house. So you can't really, hold Shiv Sena accountable.
And this number of absentee MLAs, particularly from the opposition side, is showing the chinks in the armor, Arunima.
Exactly.
Let's be clear that their strategy is not in place visibly.
Right, and the government appears confident. I mean, all this speculation that was happening about JDU and Shiv Sena, government managers appeared confident, and now it looks like their confidence was not misplaced.
So, Arunima, basically then only the Congress and the Samajwadi Party issued a whip today for their MPs to be present in the Rajya Sabha, no other opposition party. Is that what you're saying?
At least for NCP, it doesn't look like. I mean, Majid Memon is unwell, we are told. Vandana Chavan's daughter is getting married, so she is also absent. Congress and the Trinamool Congress, the only parties, Samajwadi Party.
Even Aam Aadmi Party.
Whips have been issued by the other parties?
Yes, not really. Most of these parties, again, that's what I'm saying. I mean, absentee in itself means that the strength of the house comes down and the government will be able to sail through. I mean, NCP is a classic example. There are other political parties as well who have opposed the legislation in the Lok Sabha, but they were not even present in the house. They made their views known, but thereafter they were not present when the voting took place, which took place at midnight.
Right, that's an important point to be made. Unless these parties who are claiming to be on the opposition side, unless they come out and vote against this bill, they're actually supporting the government. If you're going to walk out, or if you're going to be absent, you're bringing down the overall strength of the house. And if you bring down the overall strength of the house, then it is advantage BJP, advantage government.
Absolutely. Maria and Arunima are both going to stay with us. Let me quickly introduce our guests in the studio as well. Neha Joshi, spokesperson of the BJP, and Gaurav Chaudhary, Deputy Executive Editor, Money Control. Neha, I want to come to you first. From what Maria and Arunima are pointing out, it appears that the government may get the numbers in the Rajya Sabha as well for the passage of this bill. But how do you explain what is happening in Parliament today and the large-scale protests that are taking place in the Northeast? I mean, the parliament represents those people as well. You can't just deny that they are not represented in parliament just because they have smaller numbers.
Thank you, Maha. And absolutely, I think it's not about numbers. It's about Northeast is an integral part of India. In fact, one of our key policies for the BJP has been Act East, and we've increased our footprint there. And I think, I'd like to draw your attention to what Rahul Gandhi tweeted today. If you look at the kind of, you and I, people sitting in the studio, we are a little better informed than the average person on the street. I do understand when a new law comes in, when such a bill is introduced, there is some confusion. It'll take time for the facts to get to every Indian. But what does a responsible politician do? Does he or she spread misinformation, or does it counter facts on facts? It's a democracy. Everybody has the right to protest. And everybody has a right to have an opinion. But to completely mislead, the kind of tweet that we saw from Rahul Gandhi, highly irresponsible, and I would even go to say that it was highly dangerous.
He's talking about how this bill is against the constitution. What is irresponsible about a tweet of this nature?
If he's saying that individual that Mr. Gandhi is, first of all, just two questions for him. If he could explain to me.
But he's not here.
How would it?
I think this question being addressed to him via national media will not really help.
Does this bill concern existing Indian citizens? It does not. Does this bill, just because it's giving rights to certain persecuted minorities to become Indian citizens, does it take away the right of another group anywhere to be an Indian citizen? No, it doesn't.
So the kind of I want to bring in Gaurav Chaudhary.
What I'm trying to say is that, what we're saying is these protests may not be as spontaneous as they are being made out to be.
But the Northeast largely is ruled by the BJP at this moment, Gaurav. So how do you explain this dichotomy?
I beg to disagree that the protests are not spontaneous. I believe the reports that we are getting is the protests seem to be extremely organic in nature. There is no widespread political mobilization of this protest. So the people are coming out on the streets on their own, and there is a fear that about erosion of cultural and ethnic identity of the Assamese people, and that they believe that over a period of time they will be outnumbered in their own homeland. That fear is stemming from that very fact. But the point that Arunima made was that the Home Ministry is the Home Ministry worried about what the situation is in Assam? That is the first point. And if so, what is the plan that they have? The Home Minister during his introductory remarks did talk about bringing in Clause 6 of the Assam Accord. Clause 6 of the Assam Accord, which was signed in 1985 between the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and All Assam Students Union, actually talks about providing constitutional and legal safeguards to protect and preserve the cultural identity.
Gaurav, I'll also just quickly point out the shots that we are seeing at the moment are fresh visuals that are coming in from Guwahati. Also, if I can get Shreya in, maybe my producer can just quickly get Shreya in because she's brought us some information that the army has also been called in Dibrugarh. They are on standby at the request of the district administration. So clearly the concern is very much there if the army is being put on standby.
But it also smacks of complete underpreparedness so far as the central BJP, the central government is concerned, and also the state BJP leadership. What is the kind of feedback that they give to the central government when this bill was being pushed through? Did they not anticipate this kind of an outrage? Did they not anticipate this kind of an unrest? And which, as I said, is very organic in nature. It is from within the people, within the larger Assamese community. And if you have noticed, the protests have largely been taking place in the Brahmaputra Valley, which the fear is that Brahmaputra Valley will have to bear the brunt of these settlers here, and then it'll bring pressure on land, it'll bring pressure on jobs, etc. And then it's also about the political future as much as it is about the political rights. So today's reserved constituencies might turn out to be de-reserved because the indigenous community or the Assamese community could get outnumbered, and that is that fear. So the Home Minister, the central government, and particularly the Home Minister, should come out and communicate well. And what is the plan that they have to deal with this kind of a situation?
All right, let's quickly listen in to this report that Karishma Hasnath from Assam has sent us on the current situation.
It's a complete breakdown of law and order in Guwahati. Everywhere you can see sites like this. Tear gas shells been fired at protesters. Protesters are clashing with police at several points. This is what we notice here in the busy Ganeshguri area of Guwahati. Hundreds of protesters Hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets and they're facing resistance from security forces. Security has been tightened in every part of Guwahati. Police have resorted to bait and charge and firing tear gas shells. But the question we ask is, who is responsible for this situation? The voices of the students, of the protesters, the students have been joined by people from all walks of life. Their voices.
Yeah. Karishma Hasnat there, finding it extremely difficult to speak as a tear gas shell has just been lobbed there to disperse the crowds that have gathered. Shreya Dhondiyal is joining us with more details. Shreya, I understand that the situation now, looking at that, the state administration is looking up to the army now to step in case they are unable to control the situation.
Look at the pictures on your screens, and I think that should tell you what exactly is going on in Assam particularly, which has been the epicenter of massive protests, not since today, yesterday or day before yesterday, but ever since the government announced its intention to push through the Citizenship Amendment Bill. Karishma is pointing out to the fact that these, and this is something that Gaurav has been pointing out to as well, that these are organic protests that are taking place. They were started by students, but you have regular citizens of Assam who are afraid about their ethnic identity being diluted if so many refugees are given Indian citizenship. So this is an organic protest. The protests that you are seeing, and these are massive protests that are raging on, possibly now, as you see on your screens, going out of hand as well. Now, this is what we know, and we are seeing pictures of this. We are seeing army vehicles, army 3 tons in Dibrugarh with red flags stationed at at key points in the city, because in Dibrugarh, protests have been going on for a while now. They've even got violent. We've seen the police lathi charge protesters as well. So what the army is telling us is that yes, we have been called in. The district administration has put us on standby just in case they need us. What is it that we will do? Well, if the situation does get out of hand and if the district administration does request us, then we'll possibly be conducting flag marches to begin with, to ensure that all the protesters who are out on the streets right now, and there are many of them across the state of Assam, they will at least feel a little intimidated and go back home. The Indian Army represents the might of the state. But in this case, Assam, we have an Assam regiment. The fact is that many of these people who are protesting possibly have fathers or brothers who are in the army as well. So it's not just representing the might of the state, but it's also an institution that is out on the streets that people in this country still respect. And I think the hope that the district administration is that it will not come to a situation where the army will actually have to be used.
Intervene, yes. But yesterday, Shreya, even Gautam Bora, our correspondent in Assam, was telling us that people were stepping out of their homes ever since, the Lok Sabha passed the Citizenship Amendment Bill. They were coming out on their own and they were protesting. We saw scenes where tires were being burnt right behind him. Now, Karishma has sent us one more report. Let's try and look at that first, and then I'll come back to you.
Well, the situation has turned for the worse in Assam, in streets of Guwahati. These are scenes that you would notice in every nook and corner. Protesters clashing with police resorting to lathi charge and tear gas shell firing. Some of the protesters have been injured. This is what we are seeing in the busy GS Road, the Ganeshguri area of Guwahati. Hundreds of protesters from the All Assam Students Union have been joined by people from all walks of life. These are protesters who have been making their stance clear on the Citizenship Amendment Bill. They want the government to withdraw it at any cost, changes or no changes. This has been their demand. They had been peacefully protesting. But over the days, since yesterday, we have noticed violent protests during the 11-hour Northeast Students Organization Bandh that was called across the region. And this is what we are noticing in every part of Guwahati now. The streets are filled with people and protesters here. It's a complete breakdown of law and order in Guwahati. In Dibrugarh, Section 144 has been imposed. The army has been kept on standby. Additional security forces have also been deployed in Guwahati. But who is responsible for this situation? As you can see, another tear gas shell being fired through the crowd, pressing through the crowd. This is the situation.
All right, Karishma Hasnat getting us that report there of people spontaneously stepping out on the streets in Guwahati. Gaurav, you will be able to give us a better sense of what this means.
Yeah,
people are out on the main streets
absolutely,
there.
And it's right in the heart of the capital. It's not very far away from the State Secretariat in the State Assembly in Guwahati in Dispur. It's barely about 2 kilometers away. These scenes are from 2 kilometers away from the State Secretariat. And these are extremely worrisome pictures. And the point that Karishma also raised is who is responsible for this in an otherwise peaceful state, which was largely very peaceful until last week. Who is responsible for this? Is it the state government? Is it the central government? And where does the onus lie? Now, how does it come back? How, Arunima talked about the point that the Home Ministry has a plan and it is going to, calm is going to come back to the state. But going by these pictures, it seems to be a very long haul because there is a communication breakdown here. If the government has a plan, what is that plan? And that needs to be communicated to the last detail, to the last person on the street.
Neha, I want to come to you now because we were given to believe that the Home Ministry has been in constant touch with states in the Northeast, and before bringing in this bill in the Lok Sabha itself, everybody was brought on board. They were spoken to, the issue was discussed. Then, as Gaurav is asking, why the situation that we are seeing today in Assam?
Maha, we saw that in the aftermath of, when Article 370 was abrogated, there was a certain strategy that the central government followed, which also involved restricting certain services in the valley, and which was essential to maintain the peace there. In case of the CAB, and of course we were aware that there is going to be some resistance, there's going to be certain people who are not going to share the same opinion. We were prepared. However, the same measures cannot be applied here. Right to protest is also a country's democratic right. These people,
the government potential to turn violent.
The government is doing everything that they can, and there's a massive outreach campaign that you will see in the coming week. The government is reaching out to these protesters.
Have a government in Assam.
Yes, and the government is, despite the fact, Maha, if you're saying on one hand, it's being made out that these protests are spontaneous. On the other hand, there is a section saying that these protests are not spontaneous. They are politically motivated. I think what is required and what the government is focusing on to get all the correct information, trying to dispel all the myths that are being propagated.
If we go by what you're saying, that they are politically motivated, then shouldn't the government have had information about that? That there is preparation being done to start protests like this, which look spontaneous in nature.
No, Maha, say you can anticipate all you want, but at the end of the day, what happens, you can't predict everything accurately. So I think what we're seeing today.
So you are admitting there was some amount of failure?
Well, no, I wouldn't call it a failure. I would say that if the protests are happening today, the government has a plan to speak to these protesters, to reach out to these groups and give out the correct information. To give out the correct information.
The scenes that we see now that are coming from Assam is the state has come to a complete standstill. And who is responsible for that? I think the central government is responsible for that. As I said, they were found to be completely underprepared. The feedback that the state government would have given about possible resistance, she said that there could be some degree of resistance, but this is not some degree of resistance. This is clearly very strong resistance that is coming from the people. Even if the government has to, launch an outreach program, whom do they talk to? There is no political mobilization here. This is, as I continue to maintain, this is organic, this is spontaneous from within the people.
And that's what our reporters on the ground are also suggesting, that these are completely spontaneous protests that have broken out in Assam after the CAB, that is the Citizenship Amendment Bill, was passed in the Lok Sabha. We're taking a very quick break now. We'll be back with a lot more. Remember, the debate continues in the Rajya Sabha today.